All right, so Ralph, who has our invocation today? Darlene.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm going to share with you some lyrics from a song, and then I'll just close briefly with a prayer. I don't know if any of you are K-Love fans, but the messages in some of the songs are pretty powerful. And this one really, I think, speaks to us as Rotarians and just good citizens and Christians. The song is Do Something, and it's by Matthew West. I won't sing it, so I won't.
Come on.
I woke up this morning, saw a world full of trouble now, thought, how did we get so far down? How's it ever going to turn around? So I turned my eyes to heaven, and I thought, God, why don't you do something? Well, I just couldn't bear the thought of it. People living in poverty, children sold into slavery. The thought disgusted me. So I shook my fist at heaven, and I said, God, why don't you do something? He said, I did. I created you. If not us, then who? If not me, then you. Right now it's time for us to do something. If not now, then when? When will we see an end? To all this pain, it's not enough to do nothing. It's time for us to do something. I'm so tired of talking about how we are God's hands and feet, but it's easier to say than be. Live like angels of apathy who tell ourselves, it's all right, somebody else will do something. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of life with no desire. I don't want a flame, I want a fire. I want to be the one who stands up and says, I'm going to do something. We are the salt of the earth, we are a city on a hill. We're never going to change the world by standing still. Please bow your head in prayer. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the lyrics of the song and the message that it brings. Help us to do something. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Boy, Ted.
Is the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
All right, search
Rotary
for
moment. So my Rotary moment, my husband and I were talking about the other day, is when we were up at Camp Carefree working, and my husband was there with me working, and we were building the sidewalk. And the guys had the pumper truck with the cement, and the guys told my husband and Hal, y'all just stand over there. And about that time, the cement came out, and it just flew all over Todd and Hal. So we definitely got some permanent reminders of
All right, so Sergeant at Arms.
And real quick before that, did anyone drop a strip of tickets up front?
Oh, yeah.
I can tell
Let's see, we have, guest is Rich Whittington.
Yeah, you'll hear from me later. Yeah.
And I have an Angley, and I don't have a last name.
It's Ainsley Johnston.
Ainsley, sorry.
I know we have a visiting Rotarian, unless we're going to consider Deborah Gates City member. All right, it's official, Deborah. We've adopted you. Birthdays and anniversaries.
I've got those today. So we just missed Chuck Langdon's birthday on the 16th, so happy birthday.
49 again, Chuck.
Mark Reynolds here, So today is Mark's birthday, so we need to give him a call and sing happy birthday to him if you're so inclined. So congratulations to Mark. Cheryl.
How many years?
So Cheryl, you've got an anniversary coming up this weekend.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. So congratulations. So 28 years. Congratulations. That's great. And then Mike Andrews, you've been in the club 14 years.
All right.
Thank you. How did Shadows Day go?
Sean.
Hey, Sean. How did Shadows Day go?
Very good.
Man, a few words there.
It was very good. We had two speakers. The keynote speaker was someone McNeil, I forget his name now, from Fox 8 News. Neil McNeil. Yes, that guy. And Mick Mickelson gave a great speech. He talked about the power of questions. He said he got pulled over, and the police officer asked him, "Are you related to Lieutenant Mickelson?" Something like that. And he wasn't. He was in South Carolina and driving through, and so he said, "Well, before I answer that, what do you think about him?" And the police officer kind of stuttered. And he said, "Well, he's okay," and then let him go with a warning. So it was a good time.
Let's see, Pete, and some street cleanup.
Yeah, how about next Saturday?
How bad?
In front of Cleopatra's, 8 o'clock. We go from Benjamin all the way up to where Battleground and Battleground and Westover Terrace meet out back. Anyways, I'll bring my sticks, so everybody get there.
All right,
When hands make light work.
Yeah, so for new members, this is an opportunity to do the community service portion of your red badge. So if you're a new member, I encourage you to come on out. It doesn't take us long, as he said, if we have enough people. We do it a couple times a year in that one spot. So again, it's in front of Cleopatra's, and we have bags and sticks and gloves and everything. So good time. Let's see, Ross.
Good morning, everybody. It's time again for the annual Mercer Oath Memorial Blood Drive that's coming up in a couple weeks at Carolina Bank. For those of y'all who've been in the club less than 5 or 6 years, Mercer was a very active member of this club. He also worked at Carolina Bank with me, and he spearheaded a small group of us that give every 56 days. And so in honor of him, when he passed tragically back in '09, we began an annual tradition of doing a blood drive at the bank with the portable trailer that comes. And we've had pretty good support here from the club as well as the bank. In any event, I put 2 flyers on every table. It's still a couple of weeks away. I hope to be here next week and announce it again. If not, maybe somebody else can remind everybody. If you want to donate, there's a phone number and email on the bottom. You just email or call Michelle Coles, let her know what time you want, and she's going to give the club priority on times. So she said she'll move bank employees around to fit you all in because of schedule. So hopefully you can support us. I appreciate it.
So, Buster, you have a banner?
Yes, I do.
That's right, you went to Australia.
Good day.
Well, I was, first of all, let me thank y'all, everyone here, for sending me to Australia last week. I used my raffle prize winnings to go last week, and made up at the Canberra North Rotary Club in the Australian Capital Territory, and it was a wonderful meeting. They make everybody pay at the door. Everybody pays. All the members were putting their money down for their meal. But they did have beer, which is wonderful. So I've made up in France where they had wine, and I've made up in Australia where they have beer. But it was a great meeting. Had a great time.
it's sort of a cautionary tale for all Rotary clubs. This club was formed in 1969, and I'm sure in its heyday it was quite a club. It was down to about a dozen. Let me just put it this way: might have been the youngest person, and I'm pretty sure I was the only employed person there. But they were a great group of guys, and it was just a lot of fun. And so it was fun to meet Rotarians all over the world. So here's your back.
Any other announcements? Did I miss anything? Okay.
I've got an update on how Gail sent out a text.
So any other announcements?
Well, just on district conference, I'm not the official person, but I ran into Joe Kelly yesterday. They may have whooped our butts, the number of people going, but it's still a very fun thing. How many people here have signed up for district conference?
Say we got it.
All right, so we're going to have a pretty good turnout. We need more. We really do need more. And family and friends can come. Downtown Roanoke has been through a great renaissance. You haven't been up there in a few years. There's all kinds of shops, restaurants, and things like that. The Hotel Roanoke has been completely renovated. It's still a grand old hotel to the south. Fantastic place to stay. I've been there several times. Without it having to be a district conference, just for fun. And you can walk downtown from the hotel. Everything in Roanoke except for the mountain. Well, maybe somebody could walk up the mountain, but I prefer to drive up there. But anyway, it's a great place. It's a fun time. Please come on out and go.
It's fun, yeah, we'll have a good group there. So how many people do they have going?
A ton. Over 20, I think. So anyway.
20 including 20 Rotarians or 20 including?
I think 20 including family, I'm guessing, but I don't know. The contest between the clubs, the inter-club contest evidently ended yesterday. I asked him if it was convenient before we had our meeting this morning, and he said, well, yeah. But anyway, that's competition, guys. But anyway, heck with the competition, the fun thing is going, we've been to all but one since I joined Rotary, and I mean, Wilder loves them. He's planning on going this year, I think. So anyway, it's a fun time. Come on out. And you get to learn an awful lot about not just what we do in Rotary, but all the other clubs do too.
Yep, it's a great time. All right, let's see. So we have a badge to present today.
Alex, let's step forward.
He's already been in a year.
Is that the fastest ever?
That's pretty quick. That's really fast.
The power of coming in at the club at the right time when we have a service project. As an example, we were out packing the cheese meals a couple Saturdays ago. I told everybody it's a lot of fun. Alex, you want to tell them how much fun it was?
It was fun.
There you go.
Thank you, John.
Here's your blue badge. Let's put it on you, and you can keep this as a momentum. And congratulations. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
All right. And do want to point out, I forgot to wear my Rotary pin this morning, and Ralph pointed, because Ralph actually wore his this morning. Yay, Ralph.
Yeah. Way to go, Ralph.
He didn't want it again, and he pointed it out, so I pinned myself with the beautiful brooch. Let's see, so Happy Dollars.
All right.
Happy Dollars.
Look at that.
Several years ago, we had a member of this club, Nation Pike, that was going through cancer for a while, and I was sick at the same time. He and I used to meet at Phoenix Restaurant out on New Garden near my office for lunch sometimes, and we talked, and he was a great inspiration to me. And at any rate, I miss him a lot still, but fun guy. At any rate, we always get our portion at the end of the meal, and he'd say, you know, Walt, he said, when you get your portions, it's fine, but you have to add in bed at the end. That's and so anyway, Lori and I went there for dinner the other night, just kind of a last minute deal. And I got my fortune and it said, your energy is at a peak. Channel it into creative activities. I thought about David. Unfortunately, Lori wasn't at those much.
I just have to brag on a member of our club, and I know he does not like this necessarily, but I am so appreciative of Dr. Guy Ravando. I had an issue with the tooth, and I've been to dentists before, but Guy, you are the best dentist I've ever been to. You're gentle, you're thorough, but more than anything, like I know when I'm there, I trust you, and I really appreciate your help. So thank you.
All right.
Two happy dollars. The first one, my wife and I ran out to lunch earlier this week and ran into Charlie Lang and his wife, and they invited us to come sit with them, which was really nice. And happy birthday to you. Also got to eat lunch with Charlie on his birthday, which is great. And got to hear a couple fishing stories. So if you don't know some of those, I would ask Charlie about that. And the other one is my daughter gets married Saturday, so we're heading down to the coast tomorrow, and have us in your prayers, please.
Well, following in the spirit of creative energy and inspiration from Dr. Hallow here, thank you again for your continuing thoughts and prayers for Eloise. She got through surgery last week successfully. You know, she finished her chemo back in February, but it's full steam ahead, and it's all we can do to keep her down to go through the recovery phase. But the prognosis looks great, and thank you again for everything. So, happy dollar.
Well, a year or so ago, I had asked the club, I think through an email, if anybody had any experience skydiving. Excuse me. And got some good information, and I told Susan, I said, I'm going to give Jameson a birthday, a parachute for his parachute jump for his 21st birthday.
Wow.
And she was like, really? No, you're not. So I did the next best thing, and we did it a couple of weekends ago when he was home for spring break. We went down to Fayetteville, and we did an indoor skydiving in a tunnel or in a tunnel or something. Really cool. So, next best thing, Susan was okay with that. So.
That's what you really wanted to do anyway.
Talking about what Walt said about adding in bed to everything with Rob, I think, with a cat in a shower. I didn't do it. Every single thing that happens with Rob, I think, with a cat in the shower.
That's right.
I went skydiving with a cat.
You don't know that story?
Yeah. I think they were photographs.
Yeah, there was.
I'll be glad to recount it, but I promise not to bring it up. If you'll ask me, I'll say it.
Well, we all know Greensboro Ortho's got some good surgeons, so we're not going to go over that again. You missed it when I gave a happy dollar last week, but the real surgeon award goes to Dr. Mike, who saved my dog's life not once, but twice over a period of about 6 months, so thank you. Wifey's been doing really good out at Camden Place in rehab. They can't hold her down anymore. I think she's going to come home Saturday morning. But, the place is filled with a real mix of residents, I should say. And about half of them are there for genuine rehabilitation therapy. Most of those people are like 85 and 90. And then there's Ann. And then the other half of the population is filled with residents with all ranges of conditions and states and things like that. And so during our time, we've just been kind of walking around there, excuse my voice, trying to make friends out of strangers. And one little guy I met out in the parking lot was a fellow named Don, and he was out there just reading the paper. He didn't have the use of one arm and the other leg, but he wore an Atlanta Braves cap, and so I knew right away what to talk to him about. And then yesterday we saw him, and he's reading about, I asked him who he's pulling for, and he said UNC.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Susan Spangler, whose husband Tim died a couple years ago, is at another club, and she wanted to know, had we met Tim, the mayor of Camden Place. He's a little old man, about 90 years old,
Maybe this could have been Grandpappy Lewis's twin brother. But he wanders around, and if he sees a girl there, he'll get right close, not in a personal space, but he'll say, "You sure are a pretty girl." And so there was my wife on the rack in PT doing her exercises. And here comes Tim, and she says, "John, I think you've met your match." And he looked right at my wife square in the eyes and said, "You sure are a pretty girl." There you go.
That's
So,
Well, I just want to say thank you again for the card and the flowers. Good luck.
Yeah, I got one from Greensboro Orthopedics too. Daniel in my office, 31 years old, goes to catch that frisbee that was about 2 feet too far, laid out. He caught it and managed to fracture his upper femur Saturday. So Daniel's one of these very super frugal people. Daniel will not spend a dime unless he absolutely positively has to. So finally Monday at lunch, he says, "You know, this thing's killing me. I just can't raise my arm." And literally, he couldn't get it past here. Daniel works out, runs bicycles. I mean, he's super fit. So I called John and Donna over there at Greensboro Orthopedics. They got him in that afternoon. He comes in Tuesday. He's got his. He wouldn't buy the sling. He had a used sling. He would not buy the sling, but he came in. He had an ace bandage wrapped. He looked like a mummy from about here to about here. He had that arm immobilized. But yesterday, he turned around and says, "You know, these pain pills, they are really nice." I wasn't gonna. I only had a man to fill 4 of them because I didn't think I really needed them. I got them just in case. He said, "But this is pretty good. I'm telling you, this is nice." So as I was walking out for lunch, I said, "Jenny, Rick, do not let him make any decisions." Anyway, thank you, Sean.
Good advice.
I'm not sure what.
Well, some words of wisdom today from Grandpappy Lewis, who always told me cleanliness becomes more important when godliness becomes more unlikely.
All right. So I think, Jim, you have our introduction for us.
Yes, I do.
this morning.
Thank you. When Sue and I moved down here in 1988, we were told never go downtown. You don't want to go downtown at night. And we did find one restaurant called the Region Cajun, which is long gone, but our guest today is responsible, along with probably the Liberty Oak, for revitalizing downtown, and of course they well know what's happening now. Triad Stage opened its doors in 2002 and has entertained us for over 10 years. Rich, along with Preston Lane, is the co-founder and has served as managing director of Triad Stage since its inception. Rich earned an MFA in theater management from the Yale School of Drama. What, the Hasty Pudding Club?
No, it's hard.
And has a BFA in acting and directing from Marymount Manhattan College. In 2007, Rich was appointed by the governor to serve on the board of the NC Arts Council, where he is currently a member of the executive committee. He has previously served on the boards of Arts NC and Downtown Greensboro, and has served on numerous grant panels throughout the state, as well as from the National Endowment for the Arts. Rich has taught theater management at Greensboro College and NCA&T, and has guest lectured at UNC Chapel Hill, NC School of the Arts, Wake Forest University, and UNC Greensboro. A native of Dallas, Texas, Rich previously served as managing director for the Ensemble Company for the Performing Arts, as artistic administrator for the Dallas Theater Center, and associate producer of Dallas, the Big D Festival of the Unexpected. Prior experience also includes work at the Roundabout Theater in New York and Stage West in Springfield, Massachusetts. Please give a warm welcome to Rich Whittington.
Good morning, everybody. And Jim, thank thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you. This is cruel and unusual for a theater person to be asked to be at a 7 a.m. Meeting, but I really appreciate it.
Actually, theater people stay up till 7.
Well, that was actually the decision last night: is do you go to bed or do I stay up? But I really appreciate being here. I see a lot of friendly faces in the room. I also want to introduce Ainsley Johnston, who you met a little earlier as a guest. Ainsley has joined us at Triad Stage. This is her first year. Actually, it's not even a year yet. But Ainsley is our new sales manager, and she's in charge of group sales and for outings. So if you're looking for a fun thing for the club to do, I know Ainsley would be happy to talk to you. But we stole her away from DPAC, from the Durham Performing Arts Center, where she was in charge of their corporate program for tickets, and so we're very excited to bring her back to the Triad, and where she also is a graduate from Wake Forest. So thank you so much, Ainsley, for being here, and if you have any questions, please talk to her. She was the one that helped me be here on time. But this is a special time for us at Triad Stage, because as Jim said, you know, Preston and I, we started Triad Stage after graduating from the Yale School of Drama. We only actually overlapped for 1 year at Yale, but it was a really important year because we really got a chance to see what the other brought to the table, and we kind of realized that our vision for what a theater should mean to a community clicked. And there's not a whole lot of people in theater anymore that believe in the dream of setting down roots in a community and creating a dialogue with a community. Most artists today want to be brought in, do their work, and leave and go on to some other project. And so it's more about freelancing. But Preston and I were one of the few that really wanted to set down roots. The question was where? And so we spent a full year doing an analysis of where should we start this theater company of ours. We did a nationwide search. We looked all over the country. But Preston, I will say, always wanted to talk about North Carolina. Preston grew up in Boone, North Carolina. He went to the North Carolina School of the Arts over in Winston-Salem. And he kept telling me that he really felt a debt to North Carolina. He felt like they had given him an incredible education and that he owed them a debt. And so he kept talking about this place called Greensboro. And I'll tell you, immediately I rejected the idea because the only thing I knew about Greensboro was that my wife's mother and sister had moved here many, many years ago. And I actually thought my wife had colluded with Preston to say, hey, tell him we're moving in with the in-laws. And so I immediately told him no. But the more I looked into it and the more I started studying this area, the more I realized he was exactly right. This was the place for us. The shocking thing about this is that was 15 years ago. We just announced Triad Stage's 15th anniversary season. It's going to begin this coming September. And there were a lot of people in this community that never thought we'd have a 1-year anniversary, much less a 15-year anniversary. We have lasted when others have not. When we moved to this state, the flag bearer, the flagship company was Charlotte Repertory. Charlotte Repertory didn't make it through the 2001 recession. It closed after 29 years of business. We have tried to partner with area organizations to try to build and lift the arts support for all companies. But again, some companies haven't been able to make it through. We just recently, one of the biggest blows I think, was losing the Shakespeare Festival in High Point. They had been around for also, I guess, 34 years. They had been around for 34 years and closed their doors last year. We actually spent about a year trying to figure out if there was some way that we could revive them and somehow partner to make it happen. And unfortunately, real estate got in the way of making that happen. But we now see it as our responsibility to pick up where they left off and figure out some way to keep their legacy alive. What you see behind me is slides from our from all of the shows in our 15 seasons. We have produced almost 100 different productions since opening our doors. And we have also grown into the largest, from being the newest, we are now the largest performing arts organization in the Triad. Our budget size has grown. Tom, you'll remember when we first started, we had an $800,000 budget. And as a nonprofit, about half of that came from ticket sales, and about half of it came from donations. Well, today we have a $2.8 million annual operating budget. And again, about 50% of that comes from ticket sales, 50% of that comes from contributions from individuals, corporations, and foundations to help make our work possible. What we love about Triad Stage is that we're more than just a theater company. We're more than just the plays we put on. We really want to be a part of this community. Every year, we donate more than 1,000 tickets to other not-for-profit organizations, to schools, for them to either use as appreciation for their volunteers or for their teachers, but also for groups like yourself. We'd be happy to donate tickets for raffles to help you make your goals possible. So again, Ainsley's a great resource for that. And it's the impact that we've had on the community. As Jim said, when we first got here, as many of you will remember, we moved here in 1998, was when my wife and I moved down here. Downtown had seen some really tough times. And when Preston and I decided to buy the old Montgomery Ward's department store, that building, which is a 35,000 square foot building, 5 stories tall, had been empty for 40 years. We bought it from the Children's Museum. I don't know if people will remember back, but the Children's Museum actually got that building donated to them by Jerry Hyman. And they were trying to raise funds to start the Children's Museum in that building. Well, what they were really struggling with is it's not a great building for a children's museum. You have the multiple levels, where do the buses park? And so they were really struggling with that. And at the time, we had come down and we had our eye on the old car dealership over there on Church Street. Well, one of my visits down, when I was actually going to make the offer to buy that car dealership, I come down and I see Cynthia Doyle on the cover of the News and Record saying that the Children's Museum had just had that building donated to them. I'm like, 2 buildings? 2 buildings donated? But I called Cynthia up and asked her, now that you have this new building, can I see the old building? And so Cynthia arranged for me to go down to tour the building, and I fell in love with it. We raised $5 million from this community to upfit it, to buy it, and to upfit it. You can imagine we couldn't use any of the electrical, none of the plumbing worked. In fact, we had to take out, if you come into Triad Stage, that lobby that's on the first floor, that's all new construction. We had to take out the entire first floor and rebuild the portion that we needed for the lobby space. But when we did that, when we bought that building, there were a lot of people that said it was the dumbest thing we'd ever done because the 200 block of South Elm was a dead block. That we had tried, this community had tried over the years to try to bring it back, and nothing had worked. And we said, just have patience. Because Triad Stage is going to, when we're up and running, we're going to be bringing 300 people downtown every night of the week except for Monday. And it's going to be a consistent, instead of just having sort of certain times of the year, we're going to be a year-round theater. So we will be a theater that attracts people downtown. We know that people who go to theater like to have dinner beforehand. And most people will have dinner within a 1-mile radius of the theater space so that they can make it very convenient. That's what helped bring Liberty Oak downtown. Liberty Oak jumped at the opportunity to be next door to us. We actually took a year longer to open, which I think made them very upset. But once we did open, as you know, back then there were 3 restaurants serving dinner downtown. You had Liberty Oak, you had Paisley Pineapple, and Undercurrent. And now the number of options you have downtown for dinner is mind-boggling. I think the latest count, there are over 30 restaurants now serving dinner in downtown Greensboro. Those restaurants around us show that have a 40% increase in attendance on nights that we're in business. And I know this because as I go to eat dinner at the various restaurants, when we're not having shows, they're always like, "You're starting back up again, right? Next week the play starts." That was a shocking thing to our board. But then I asked them, "Okay, when do you go to Liberty Oak?" And they say, "We go to Liberty Oak every time we come here." So when else do you go to Liberty Oak? Oh. So we're really trying to figure out a way to make Triad Stage be a part of the community, and we're very thrilled at the community's response. The other thing that we are trying to make known as we celebrate our 15th anniversary season is the impact we've had on the job market and the economic activity. It takes a lot to put together a theater production. At the very beginning of this year, we had a wonderful play called The 39 Steps. And there were 4 actors who played about 150 different roles. And afterwards, we'd always get people coming out, I don't know how those 4 guys did it all. Well, it actually took 50 people behind them to make sure that those 4 guys could do it all on stage. And that's something that I think people don't necessarily think about, is how many people it involves. Just out of curiosity, I've got 2 tickets to our upcoming production of Crimes of the Heart, which starts on April 5th, great date night. And I just, Ainsley and I were trying to figure out what we could ask you guys to see who could win a couple of tickets here. And I'd just like to see how many, what do you think, how many people do you think Triad Stage employed last year just to do a season of work? Anybody have any ideas? You want to throw out a number? Yes.
75.
Oh, way low.
400?
Yes.
250.
500, actually it was 520. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you are. There you go. 518. Right, there you go. But no, that's really great. We had 520 job opportunities. We have 16 full-time year-round staff members that work here, that live here, that send their kids to school here. Myself, I've got 2 boys that are now Greensboro natives who are in school here. We have another 16 part-time employees that work year-round. But the biggest impact we had is on the actors, directors, and designers and theater artists that we employ. And so we employed over 450 of those artists last year alone. And that's giving an opportunity for people who are training here in our colleges and universities to be able to stay here and to be able to make a living here. We are a fully professional theater company, so we pay everybody. That doesn't mean that everybody has to be a professional, but we pay all of the positions that we work with. And it's really a big part of what we try to do, because when you look at our universities, all of our universities have these amazing theater departments. And when they get out of school, they have to go somewhere else to get a living. So we're trying to make a difference there. We're trying to build an arts community. And I'm really excited that we've made it to our 15th. And I can't wait to see where we go for the next 15. I do want to tell you just really quickly, you've got on your table both a schedule for Crimes of the Heart, which I would encourage you to come to. This is a part of a dual city conversation that we've started. For those of you that don't know, Triad Stage is not only now in Greensboro, but we're also producing at the Haynes Brands Theater in downtown Winston-Salem. We're trying to live up to our name in a whole new way and be a true Triad Stage. And so in Greensboro, we're going to be doing Crimes of the Heart by Beth Henley. And in Winston, we're going to be doing a show called Abundance, which is also by Beth Henley. And so people get a chance to see 2 different works by this wonderful Southern author. But I do, also on your table, you'll find our 15th anniversary season. And we talk about it at the theater that we've pulled out all the stops for our 15th anniversary season. We wanted to do a season that is big, that is bold, that celebrates all of the things that we hold dear. We're going to be kicking things off with our favorite playwright of the South, Tennessee Williams' Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. We have marked every 5-year anniversary with a Tennessee Williams play, and so we wanted to make sure that the 15th anniversary was part of that. We're going to be doing the wonderful thriller Death Trap, which is a great movie with Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve and Diane Cannon. That'll be a real fun one because we love entertainment as well. We love mystery. We are, after the holidays, we're going to be doing a world premiere by that Rogers and Hart team, or Rogers and Hammerstein team of the South, Preston Lane and Laura Lynn Dossett. They are writing a new play, which is very different from them. It is a modern play. It is set in the South, and it's deeply embedded into the art world, and about an outsider artist and 2 women searching for their long-lost mother. It's called Radiant Abundant, and it is being supported by the National Endowment for the Arts, which we're very excited about. After that, we are doing our very first August Wilson play. We are tackling the show Fences, about an aging baseball player and his son and the relationship between them. We are working with the Greensboro Grasshoppers to make that into a wonderful event that also celebrates the Negro League and the history of black baseball in the South. It's going to be a really big event. And then we're ending next season here in Greensboro with a show called Don Juan, about the world's greatest lover. And so that should be a fun one too. That's a partnership production we do with UNCG Theater, where we actually have 8 of their graduate students are in the production, and it's a way for them to graduate and be a part of getting some professional credits under their belt. So it's a really great thing we've been doing for now 10 years. In Winston-Salem, we're going to be doing Wit by Margaret Edson, which is a story about one woman's journey through her treatment with ovarian cancer. It's being sponsored by Wake Forest Baptist Medical, and it's going to be a big community-wide discussion about not necessarily the illness itself, but about the treatment of the illness and the various approaches doctors take, and you see every aspect of the medical field presented. And then we'll be ending our season over there with a show called Vroom. It is a NASCAR comedy about a fictionalized account of the first woman NASCAR driver. The cast is all women, and they play all of the roles, including a very special guest from NASCAR legend. And for the holidays, in Winston-Salem, we're doing A Christmas Carol, in an adaptation that was written by Preston Lane that has now been in there for 3 years. But here in Greensboro, we are bringing back probably the show that we hear most about. When is it coming back? When is it coming back? It's been off our stage for about 5 years, and we are bringing back Beautiful Star and Appalachian Nativity, which was Preston and Laurelyn's second show that they ever did. So we're very excited about it. We hope you'll check us out. Season passes for Triad Stage next year start at $75 to see all 5 plays. It's a very affordable date night option, so keep an eye out. And you can actually call the box office or go online and get your order in now, and then we'll seat you whenever. I do not want to go over my time, so I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions that you guys have, but I want to make sure I end early. Jonathan.
Preston, thank you. My heart leapt when you said A Beautiful Star.
Yes.
What are the probabilities that the same cast be there?
You know, we are.
I can take it, whatever.
We're in those negotiations now. I think you will see some familiar faces, but I think you're going to see some new faces too.
That's great.
Because one of the things that Preston wants to do about it is show the growth that has happened from when Beautiful Star opened in our 6th season. We're now 9 years older, 9 years further along in our journey. And so this is not going to just be a remount of Beautiful Star. This is a reimagining and a new production. So I think there's going to be a mix of old and new. I'll tell you, Rhiannon Giddens was in Beautiful Star. We feel like we discovered Rhiannon. I don't know if she agrees, but we think we discovered her. And we would love to have Rhiannon back. Rhiannon wants to come back. But I don't know if you've seen her all over the news lately, but she was on David Letterman recently. Her career is skyrocketing. If we can get her back, we'll have her back for you. But she definitely will be back for doing concerts. But that's probably the biggest long shot, I would say. Yes, Jim.
Rich, I don't know if all of you have noticed the screen, but the one thing that impresses Sue and I when we go to the theater, the sets are amazing. They're incredible sets. Sometimes I walk in and I just stand there transfixed. They're beautiful.
Well, and that's one of our hallmarks. We believe very strongly that design is just as important as the actors, as the story, as the directing. And so it's allowed us to do some shows that, I appreciate what you were saying, Jim, because I think even on a show that you come out and you go, I'm not sure if I got that, or that one's not quite for me. I don't think, it's rare that someone comes out and says they didn't do that well.
Yeah.
So I hope we're telling good stories.
All right, real quickly, you see that dress right there?
Yeah.
If you needed any excuse to become a season pass holder, he won't let me if I don't jump in. This year, announcing our 15th season, we had a special guest show up in that dress to announce the season for all of our season pass holders. So just imagine Rich in that beautiful pink dress. These are the surprises that you can expect if you're a season pass holder and invited to our special events. All right, continue.
Preston told me that he had a very important role for me to play in announcing the season. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind when I said yes, but I've tried to be a good sport about it. I think it's going to be my cat in the shower story, which I can't wait to hear about. Any other questions? Yes.
Comment more than a question.
I'm
love
also
that. Not a Greensboro native, moved here in 2000, and as you know, we've been season ticket holders ever since that day. But this is the first time I've ever heard you talk without the hard candy speech.
Yes.
Oh.
Get that favorite piece of candy.
That is true. I should have started off by unwrapping my candy. Cell phones off, yes. I will tell you that the worst possible thing is for my cell phone to go off in a meeting. I get skewered by that, so I appreciate that. Yes, Tom?
You know, y'all started 15 years, and half of that time was pretty difficult recession. And you just
Half that time? The entire time we've been open, there's been a big recession, but go ahead.
A lot of other theaters have struggled. What has been y'all's biggest challenge during that time? Because the quality keeps keeping y'all open, but what has been your challenge?
It really is about, I would put it in two categories. Number one, it's getting people to try us for the first time. When we got down to this community, and we're seeing this in Winston as we go into a new market, people are telling us, well, why would we go to Triad Stage? We've already got theater. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about any of the theaters that were already here. They actually paved the way for us to be here. They're an important part of the ecosystem. We are, the biggest misconception is that somehow, I remember there were a lot of people that thought we were going to come in and take over all the theaters and just be one theater. In fact, I will tell you that when we had a meeting with the Arts Council, that was actually one of the expressed desires. They said, oh, this is great. You can get all the theaters under one umbrella and we can have one theater.
No.
We don't want a community with one theater. We want, it'd be like the same person saying, oh, not another restaurant. We want, I've read a book. I don't want to read another book. We think that all those voices are important. But we also feel that if people will give us a shot, we have a very good chance of getting them to come back because they do sort of go, oh, I didn't realize this was what it was about. But clearly it's the funding. No question. Funding has been the biggest challenge. When we moved down here, people said, oh, this is not a problem. You're going to be able to raise the money to start this theater company. All you need to do is get with Burlington Industries, Cone Mills, Guilford Mills, Lorillard, when Alex Spears was still in charge of Lorillard. The world changed as soon as we opened our doors. The first production we ever did was January of 2002, just 3 months after the tragedies of September 11th, when people didn't want to get together in large spaces with other people. So I feel like, and I was sort of half joking, I feel like we have been in a recession ever since we opened the doors, and I can't wait to see what we can do when the economy actually comes back. But that's been the biggest challenge. And so if you can continue to support us with season passes, continue to support us by coming, and for those that are in the position to do it, considering a tax-deductible donation too. That's the biggest challenge. Yes, Robbie?
And Rich, you were so inclusive from the get-go about incorporating and including the theater community into your sibling organizations. And along those lines, you and I had the great privilege of serving on the Performing Arts Center Task Force. What is your take at this point going forward on the impact of the Tanger Center?
We're out of time. Are we out of time? I believe very strongly that theater, it's the same message we said, which was more theater that gets more theater and better theater. So I think long-term, the Performing Arts Center is going to have a great impact on downtown, and it's going to have a great impact on Triad Stage. I will tell you that from our perspective, we need to be in a stronger position to be able to get to the long term. So it has nothing to do with the Performing Arts Center. It's about Triad Stage and about shoring up our donor base, about shoring up our season pass holder base. So we are internally looking at how do we become stronger. Because if you look around the country, what typically happens in the first or second year of a new big performing arts center opening is other theaters that are not involved in that tend to see a 10 to 15% drop in their overall revenue. Well, a 10 to 15% drop in our revenue now would be devastating because we are still struggling. We have what Preston refers to as the 10% leak, and I will end on this, I promise. But Preston talks about the fact that every time we bring in people to the theater space, it's like we're bringing them into our living room. And so they're able to see those beautiful sets, which, by the way, don't cost as much as they look like they cost. We are very good about stretching a dollar beyond any realm of possibility. But when we do bring you into a show, you see we're putting our best foot forward. We're showing you the nice part of the house. But if we were to take you into our basement, you would see that we have a leak. And it's a 10% budget leak. Almost every year we find ourselves 10% short of our goals. And that 10% is almost creating a flood, which of course we had a real flood last year. Yeah. But it's creating a flood that threatens to erode the foundation and have the living room fall into it. So we as a board, we as a staff, we as our patrons are really trying to figure out how do we fix that 10% leak. But if you can imagine, if the 10% leak becomes a 20% leak, that challenge is too great. So I don't want to end on that note because we are very excited about next season. Season renewals are already happening, and we are already about 300 season passes ahead of our pace last year. So we're very excited about the future, and we want y'all's help to make it happen. One last question, and then
You're doing the TED talk?
We are. TEDx on May, anybody know, May 8th? May 7th, thank you. We are hosting the TED Talks. This is our second year to host. It's a really great event. If you haven't already signed up, please do. Some great speakers. Preston was actually a speaker during the first year, told a story about a horse. Very strange story, but it was a great story. But if you get a chance, come out for that. It's a great event.
You've also hosted Frank's Day Show.
Every month we do.
Every month.
We do WUNC, and one last thing, I promise. UNCG. If you are going to buy a ticket to UNCG theater, dance, or music, you're actually buying it from Triad Stage. We are now the official ticket provider for all of UNCG's events in theater, music, and dance, as well as Eastern Music Festival. So we're trying to figure out a way that we can use our capacities to help other organizations, and ticketing is a big part of that. Yeah, thank y'all so much. Y'all have been too kind.
Thank you very, very much. So in your honor, we're going to be donating a book to Cone Elementary School.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much.
And so how many cards are left?
8.
8 cards.
Wow, sweat.
Ah.
This is where I make one person really happy and everybody else really mad, right?
Depends if they pick the right card.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Let's see, the last 3 digits?
First 3 digits.
First 3 digits.
Everybody wearing that.
392.
Oh.
Yes. All right.